All right, let's jump right in. The title of this explainer says it all, really. Don't major in minor things. It's a super simple, but honestly, a pretty powerful philosophy that can help you get your focus and your energy back. Okay, so get this. What if I told you that something like 90%, yeah, 90, of all the conflicts that just suck the life out of you, ruin your day, maybe even hurt your relationships, what if I told you they could just go away? And that it only takes one simple little thing to make it happen? I mean, that's what we're diving into here. A huge payoff for what's really just a tiny shift in how you see things. And here it is. This is the whole secret sauce, the one question that can literally change everything. So, before you fly off the handle, before you escalate a situation, before you pour all that precious time and energy into something, just stop. Take a breath and ask yourself, is this really important? That question, that's the key. That's what unlocks that 90% we were just talking about. All right, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How does this actually work in our day-to-day lives? You know, the stuff I'm talking about. That person who cuts you off in traffic and you just want to lose it. Or you get that one email from a coworker that just makes your blood boil. Well, this question, it's like a circuit breaker. It stops that immediate angry reaction and keeps us from getting all tangled up in fights that, when you think about it, just don't matter. And this just illustrates the point so perfectly. I love this military metaphor. Seriously, think about it for a second. Would you really sacrifice an entire battalion, all those people, all that strength and resources, just to capture some tiny, worthless outhouse? No way. It's absurd, right? But we do it all the time. We do it with our emotional energy. We pour everything we have into these pointless arguments and frustrations that, in the grand scheme of things, are, well, they're just outhouses. Okay, so this whole idea goes way beyond just daily frustrations. It really affects how we approach our work, our goals, our personal growth. So many of us, right, we get trapped by perfectionism. And that is a classic textbook example of majoring in a minor thing. But here's the tricky part, the paradox. How do you reject perfectionism without giving up on the idea of pursuing perfection? Well, the answer is all about a simple but really profound shift in how you look at it. So check this out. This is the key difference. Perfectionism. That's the minor thing we get stuck on. It sees perfection as a final destination. You know, a place you have to arrive at. And that's exactly why we get paralyzed. We spend forever polishing one tiny sentence in an email or tweaking one slide in a deck, and we never actually hit send. But if you start to see perfection as a direction, well, that changes the entire game. It becomes your North Star. It's not about getting to the perfect spot. It's just about making sure you're always pointed the right way, always making progress, always moving forward. And this quote from Oliver Wendell Holmes just nails it. It's not about the place you're at right now. It's not about how messy your first draft is or what your current skill level is. What really truly matters is the direction you're moving. As long as you're heading forward, as long as you're learning, you're winning. Simple as that. Okay, but here's the thing. All this talk about focusing on the external world, it's kind of useless if your internal world is just a chaotic mess, right? To stop majoring in the small stuff out there in the world, you have to start by stop majoring in the small stuff in here, inside your own head. That's where the real work begins. That's the foundation for everything else. And let's talk about the ultimate example of this, holding a grudge. Man, that's majoring in a minor thing if I've ever seen it. It really is like drinking poison and hoping the other person gets sick. It just doesn't work. So the advice here is super practical. Just let it go, especially before you go to sleep. Think of every night as a chance to hit the reset button on your mind. I absolutely love this metaphor. Your belief, it isn't just some passive thought floating around in your head. No, it's an active thermostat. It literally sets the temperature for your life. It determines the upper and lower limits of what you think you can accomplish. It decides how big your ambitions are before you even take a single step. And that leads us right to this. If your belief is the thermostat, well, you got to set that thing high. You know, people tend to see in us what we see in ourselves. So if you're walking around projecting smallness and doubt, guess what you're going to get back? But if you genuinely believe you're capable of big things, you start to act differently. You start to move in ways that actually make those big things happen. Okay, so we've got the mindset down. That's huge. But, you know, that's really only half the battle. How do we take all these cool ideas and actually turn them into action? Let's break down a super practical way to figure out what those major things are that you should be focusing your energy on. The management guru Peter Drucker came up with this genius tool. It's so simple. Whenever you make a big decision, just write down what you expect to happen. Then set a reminder for, say, 9 months later. Go back and look at what you wrote. The difference between what you expected and what actually happened, that's pure gold. It tells you exactly what you're good at, and maybe just as important, what you're not so good at. And look, this isn't about pretending you don't have weaknesses, it's about putting your energy where it counts, doubling down on your strengths. And this is such a critical mindset shift. So many people avoid practicing something because they're afraid of looking bad, afraid of not being good at it right away. But that completely misses the point. Practice isn't a performance for an audience. It's the engine that drives improvement. It's all about the reps, about being consistent, about that forward motion. It is absolutely not about being perfect every single time you try. And all that practice, all those reps, they lead you down this path to real mastery. It's a pretty natural progression when you think about it. First, you just hear about an idea. Then maybe you see someone else do it. Then you start to do it yourself. That's the practice part. But the final test, the ultimate sign that you have truly mastered something, that you've made it a major thing in your life, it's when you can turn around and teach it to somebody else. All right, so we've covered a lot of ground. We've gone from handling tiny daily frustrations all the way up to personal mastery. So for this last part, let's zoom all the way out. Let's look at the biggest picture of all. Instead of getting bogged down in all those minor battles, what's the one big war that's actually worth fighting? This beautiful quote from Margaret Fuller just frames the answer so well. Look, the whole point of all this self-improvement, of figuring out your strengths, it's not just for you. The ultimate major thing, the war worth winning, is service. It's about taking that light, that knowledge you built up, and sharing it. Letting other people light their own candles from yours so they can find their way too. And really, when you strip everything else away, it all boils down to these 4 pillars. These are the things that are always important. These are the real majors in life: love, honesty, truth, and respect. If you build your life on that foundation, you've basically got everything you need. Everything else is just noise. And one final thought, just as a reminder to yourself. Your value, your worth as a person, it has nothing to do with how many of these little battles you win. It's just there. It's inherent. You have a right to be here, just like the trees and the stars. And when you really get that, when you really feel it, it frees you. It frees you from that constant, frantic need to prove yourself over every little thing. It lets you just relax and focus on what really matters. So we end right back where we started, with this one question. This is the thing to take with you. The next time you feel that irritation, that anger, that pull to get dragged into some pointless conflict, just pause, take one deep breath, and ask yourself, is this really important? The answer? Well, the answer is going to set you free.